What's up, guys? It's Mike for Sim Racing 604, and I was researching ways that I could potentially upset the most people in the sim racing community in the least amount of time, and this is the best I could come up with. Here are my top 5 racing sims for 2022. Alright, so I was joking in the intro, of course, but I know I am running the risk of arousing the ire of diehards or doubters for any given racing sim, so please try your best to remember that this is just simply the opinions of a middle-aged man playing video games in his garage, so please don't take me too seriously. And we'll start, of course, with number 5, my 5th favorite racing title at this moment, which is rFactor 2, and I know, I get it, they're in the midst of an ugly situation with motorsport games, but please keep in mind that behind the company are a bunch of people working hard to give us the best game they can. So for me, every time I go back to rFactor 2, I wish I spent more time in it. It's good across so many facets, and they've made big strides in user interface and load times, along with improvements to the sounds, and of course its legendary force feedback. It is biased toward DLC for official content, but there's still a lot of great free content as well, and there aren't many race series that aren't represented in rFactor 2 now. I love this title, but these days I use it almost exclusively for lapping rather than racing. I keep running into issues with the strange and inconsistent AI behavior, so I just end up avoiding single-player racing in favor of hot lapping, which is why the title occupies the bottom spot on this list, but rFactor 2 remains amazing for me, and I hope they emerge from their current struggles with more exciting content and maybe another title in the series in coming years. And next up, number 4 on my list, Dirt Rally 2.0. Obviously, Richard Burns Rally is experiencing a resurgence right now, and it seems to be aging like a fine wine, but Dirt 2 is still giving me everything I need from a rally sim. Oftentimes, if I only have 10 minutes to race, or if I'm stressed and need a quick and easy escape, this is my sim of choice. The sense of speed is off the charts, and the ability to jump into a session in moments without wasting time on configuration is excellent. I think my experience with Dirt Rally 2 has probably peaked, but it's a pretty high peak, and this is the most I've enjoyed any rally sim, and it's probably tops on this list for smiles per mile. If you get it right, the payoff is huge, and you feel like a world-class racing driver even if you're a full minute off the world-class pace. Get it wrong, and it usually results in a spectacular crash that's still somehow enjoyable and funny rather than frustrating. I'm sure much of the focus behind the scenes at the Codemasters Rally division is on their next WRC title, so whether that license gets integrated into a title similar to Dirt Rally 2.0 remains to be seen, but let's hope their next title doesn't stray too far from this one. But for sure, add proper triple screen support, please.
Into 6 right tightens and keep left over 50, 6 right of a big crest into turn 6 left.
Alright, so on to the first podium step we go, and it's time to talk about Automobilista 2. Like all the titles on this list, it does a lot of things extremely well, and I would go to bat defending the graphics, the sounds, force feedback, and content quality for AMS2 any day of the week. There's been a few major updates since the initial release that have made this one of the most enjoyable driving experiences I have in sim racing. The Formula USA cars by themselves make this sim exceptional, plus challenges you in different ways by offering tracks and cars from South American race series that are almost impossible to find outside of this title, but there are some lingering issues that I hope get resolved soon. The AI quality seems to have gone through peaks and valleys since day one, and the multiplayer races are still pretty dead during peak North American times at least, so it needs a platform like a simracing.gp to bring more players to it, and I seriously think that if you could get like an SGP supported series in AMS2 with Daytona, Nord, Spa, and Monza, 24 hours of race time simulated in 1 hour, it would just be an amazing series. So I hope to make that happen at some point, but overall, AMS2 awesome and definitely deserves the number 3 spot on my list. And next up, a title I'm sure many of you expected to be number 1 on my list, but this is actually the runner-up, and you might have expected it to be higher given the success and longevity of the Sim Racing 604 ACC leagues we run. The link is in the description if you want to join us. But Assetto Corsa Competizione is a technical masterpiece in many respects, and the dedication Kunos has put into creating the ultimate GT3 sim has really paid off. Seeing this sim being integrated into a real GT racing series with points for placing well almost defies belief, and it's possibly the ultimate endorsement for a racing game. ACC is also a great option for those shows on current gen consoles. It lags behind the PC version in a few aspects, but ultimately I still believe it to be the best console sim racing option. The only thing that holds this title back from being at the top of my list is the fact that the car selection is limited compared to most other titles I race. I think they've done about as much as they can within the context of being an SRO dedicated racing sim, but occasionally I'll lose my taste for GT racing and be left with nothing to do in the title. And this isn't on ACC, it's on me, but sometimes I just love ripping an open wheeler around Nords. But my runner-up, ACC. And finally, in at the top spot, Assetto Corsa. And a quick hello to everyone who skipped ahead in this video. AC is the timeless racing sim. Official support for AC stopped years ago, but mods have kept this title relevant well beyond its forecast expiration date. At this point, you can find almost any car or any track from any era for Assetto Corsa with a Google search, which in and of itself is unbelievable. But there's also a core game that stands up well on its own. Driving Assetto Corsa on PC in its vanilla form is somewhat underwhelming versus the modded masterpiece that so many of us run these days, but even in its stock form, the potential is there to build greatness off of what Kunos gave us in 2014. Whether you want to bang out random laps in a 900 horsepower Ferrari or join a well-established league with retro tin tops, AC has you covered. Perhaps you want to simulate driving Lewis Hamilton's dominant 2019 Mercedes F1 car, or maybe a 100-year-old Bugatti. Either way, the answer is AC. Much of the functionality that's present in other sims is a workaround or requires additional downloads in Assetto Corsa, but you're rarely more than a Google or YouTube search away from making anything your automotive brain can conceive of a reality in this title. Scrolling through the list of cars I have for Assetto Corsa usually ends up with me wishing I had more hours in the day, and I can't think of the last time I wished I had more things to do in AC. Assetto Corsa for PC is my #1 sim. And just before I end this video, let's talk about some notable omissions from my list. Where is iRacing, you may ask? I don't play iRacing. I know thousands of people do, but I don't. I enjoy it, but I never caught the iRacing bug like many people did. I let my membership expire recently, and I'm honestly not sure if or when I will renew. I'm all over the map when it comes to what I feel like driving on any given day, and that becomes really costly in the iRacing world. And Gran Turismo 7 is also absent. If you'd asked me a few weeks ago, this would have likely been in my top 3, but I've more or less exhausted the single-player campaign, and my time with the online racing wasn't that fun, so I play it now mostly to save up and buy new cars to take pictures of, but even that sort of run its course for me. So that's it, guys. As always, drop a comment below with your own takes. Let me know your own top 5, top 3, or any other sim you want to chat about. And thank you for watching.